I got to talk to Otangelo.
Oh, that's what's coming up? Okay.
Yeah, it's got to be Otangelo or go home. Here it is.
Have time for popcorn.
Otangelo, you're on the air with JMike and Johnny, and it's been a long time, my friend. How are you doing?
Yes, hello guys. I'm doing fine, and you?
All right. Good. Hope you're well. I hope you're safe where you're at right now. I know things are kind of rough where you're at. I hope that you're staying healthy and your friends and family are doing all right.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I got my first shot, and in only 3 months I will get my second, and I hope until then I'll keep safe. Okay, so let me go to my argument.
Yes, sir.
I will present you a syllogism, okay? 1, there are 4 fundamental forces that describe every interaction in nature. The strong nuclear force that holds the nucleus of the atoms together is precisely 137 times as strong as the electromagnetic force. It is 10 million times stronger than the weak nuclear force and 10 to the 38 power stronger than the gravitational force. The precise relationship of these forces makes it possible for our universe to be filled with atoms, chemistry, molecules, and life. 2, if naturalism were true, that is the worldview where there would be no God, we would expect a dead and lifeless universe. It would not only be typical, but exceptional, and there would be no mechanism to secure these forces to be stable and permit that life-permitting universe. 3, the parameters are, however, unexpectedly exceptional and extremely unlikely and life-permitting. That would have to be expected if intelligent design were true. Therefore, our universe is better explained by an intelligent designer rather than natural forces.
So this is the anthropic principle in play?
Yeah, that's a fine-tuning argument, and I am applying it to the fundamental forces which are in operation in the universe and which are in a precise relationship. The coupling constants of these forces are just right in order to permit atoms to exist, which permit for us to have the periodic table, life, molecules, and biodiversity.
Life, the universe, and everything. So Otangelo, if what you're saying is if the universe were otherwise, to a certain degree, we wouldn't be here having this conversation, right? Therefore, God.
Yes, if the fundamental forces would not be in the right relationship, then there would be no atoms, no molecules, and there would be no life, and we would not have this conversation. Correct.
All right.
You have your second premise too is like, because you go into we would expect lifeless, right, universe. I think that when you put it like that, when you say like we would expect, I think that's a pretty good way to go about it, to look at these things and go, well, what would you expect, right? And this, we might not have, it's an abductive assessment, might not have all the information, so it could be wrong to do that. But I do like to see what people's expectations are, right? Because my expectations from a world with theism and the fine tunings is, why would God need to fine tune anything related to purely physical components? Like he has a whole new category to deal with the immaterial. Why would it matter what atoms are fundamentally doing or what the mass of a neutrino is, right? It doesn't obstruct God's ability in any way. So from my perspective, when we're looking at this, what you would expect for the fine tuning, if we would grant that, we would expect exactly what we see, from my opinion. The fact that life is a very insignificant part of the universe, very, very insignificant. On a level you couldn't even fathom, right? And so I don't see how that's the case. And then for your first one, you go into you had like specific kind of like measurements for the strong nuclear forces. People kind of do this with the mass of a neutrino, and I'm not arguing that this is correct or right or anything, but I guess this is just something I think about that's been offered to me that really gave me a lot of thought. Was if it's the case that, like, say the mass of a neutrino couldn't be, just a little heavier or lighter or whatever it might be, right? I think the measurement's like 10 to the negative 36, a bunch of zeros, right? When we use it I think it's weighed in kilograms. And if we're going to do that, right, the measurement seems to matter. And to some physicists, it really does matter. It seems to be that it's like the same argument as saying, like, well, if it's off by a few percentage with this measurement, life couldn't exist, or that the universe wouldn't exist at all. Well, that's like, to me, measuring like Michael Jordan in light years and then saying, well, if he's 5%, in this variable more or less, he can't play basketball. But what's actually the correct measurement here? The best measurement would be like inches, right? We go, oh, well, he's 71 or 81 inches tall. And if he's 5% less or more, he could actually still play basketball. And not even that, he'd probably still be one of the best, right? And so my worry here, the analogy I'm trying to draw, is that it seems that we have this, you're basing this off of measurements we have in a very specific domain like kilograms. And I'm wondering if that's just right then and there wrong when you say a 5% fluctuation or something like that, because it could just be the case that if we had more proper measurements, that 5% on the best scale possible would actually mean no difference. The same way it would make no difference to Michael Jordan if he was a little bit taller or shorter, probably still be the best. It doesn't exclude him from the NBA, right? The same way it doesn't exclude life. I'm wondering, like, if you've ever thought of anything like that with the actual measurements you're using or the parameters.
Well, the measurement isn't any problem at all. I mean, with the advance of physics, we have very, very precise measurements of these forces, and there is no doubt in physics that they have been tested and they are correct. And that is not an argument to say, well, maybe it isn't that kind of fine-tuning which we are observing. That is simply not true. I mean, physics and scientists, they have no doubt in regards of these forces, neither in regards of the coupling constants. And I mean, they are now in the philosophical camp where they are trying to explain why is it that the universe is that kind of fine-tuned. And I mean, the only alternative to God which they can come up with is a multiverse, which is entirely unscientific. It is a made-up explanation.
Otangelo, so with the universe being tuned as it is, or with the parameters being what they are, life exists. And if the universe were of a different configuration, no life would exist. So what?
That demands an explanation. Basically, you have two explanations. One is that a creator created the universe, instantiated the right forces, the right relationship between these forces with a specific purpose, which is to make a life-permitting universe. The other explanations are multiverses, which is, as I said previously,
Or Otangelo, I'm sorry, you keep on offering these two alternatives, or something else, or we don't know, right? We just don't know. So you've concluded that it's either multiverses or it's God, who's not subject to any of these rules, by the way. God is just outside of all these rules. Okay? What if we just don't know the answer?
These rules. And there is another important question which you have to ask yourself. Why are these forces constant and secured, and they are the same everywhere in the universe? They could simply be chaotic and stochastic, and there is, if you don't explain it with the creator, then you have simply no explanation why they are secured and stable and permit the universe to exist.
Otangelo, are there other universes out there that have different laws of physics?
If there would be, it wouldn't even start, because you need to have the right fine-tuned constants to have the right expansion rate to have a universe.
Okay, and therefore
that's going to depend on the actual measurements, what I said earlier. But
yeah, Otangelo, this seems to be the major thread of your argument, and I guess I'm just not there. So the universe is in such a way that life exists, and if it were some other way, life wouldn't exist. But then I wouldn't be here questioning myself. I think you're confusing the effect for the purpose, and I wouldn't say confusing. I think you're directly nailing that down. Because we're here, therefore there was an intelligent agent that made it so. It's not just that it is for some reason we don't understand, or that it has to be for some reason, but it must be because it's for us. I don't know. I doubt we're going to get anywhere with this one. JMike, you have any final thoughts on Otangelo?
Yeah, I mean, I would just want to go back to the first thing that I said, which I went off on a tangent, which I shouldn't have done. But if I could rephrase, like, why would I don't understand why God would have what it would matter for what atoms are doing at the fundamental level or these types of things. You have an entire new category to play with. There's nothing that stops there's nothing that's going to obstruct God from doing what he needs to do by having this precise way of putting it.
Yeah.
It could just not do that. There's nothing logically contradictory to that.
Yeah, it could be a universe of plasma with intelligent human beings floating in the plasma, constantly burning but never dying. Or
there's also the second part to that, which is to say, what is it about the God that fine tunes that so much to want to create the life? Why not a universe of just black holes? Why not just a universe of just stars? Right? It seems like you kick the can down the road to me on a philosophical perspective once you really dive into that, because then you just get down to why that thing is tuned to the way it is. Yeah, to even have the quote unquote fine tuning.
Otangelo, I appreciate that you called. This is kind of where I thought the argument was going to go. JMike, have you ever spoken with Otangelo before?
Yeah, he's actually been on our show, or my podcast,
okay.
And we've had a conversation.
Well, I do appreciate you calling in, Otangelo. I want to let you go. I'll call back another time. Maybe try Kenneth or some of the other hosts on this one. I'm just not there, but I do appreciate you calling in. And again, stay safe and hope your family stays safe as well.